This is happening between Holland and Mercury. All of the lanes are shut down. There is a lane getting by on the shoulder of the road as they bleed off traffic. The entire freeway is shut down pretty much from the loop out to this point, and this point is midway between the loop and the Beltway. When we arrived on the scene, we found two bodies outside of a sedan in the middle of the freeway going the wrong way on the eastbound lanes. It had bumped into, it appeared, into a bobtail truck. Not ran into, but bumped into the bobtail truck. Right now, there are several witnesses, it appears to be witnesses, around this accident here. Needless to say, Houston Police Department and Houston Fire Department, along with emergency services, are out here on the scene. This is going to be a long investigation. I have heard that this is also a search for a suspect in this double fatality out here on the main lanes of I-10, the Baytown East Freeway. Alona?
Yeah, Don, the details of this are just incredible. This is a story that we rarely hear, that a suspect apparently got out of a vehicle on the East Freeway. I mean, this would have been right at rush hour, Don. You would have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of cars moving along in that area. It's extremely unusual to hear of somebody getting out of a vehicle. We don't know if this was a road rage situation at this point, do we?
No, we do not know that, but it certainly points to all signs of it being a road rage incident. We hope that that's not the case, because if it is, that makes it even more frightening. HPD does have an active search underway, and hopefully that these witnesses here on the scene have gotten a description not only of the suspect, but also the getaway car.
Yeah, so hopefully, as you said, there might be people there who saw what happened. But, you know, in the meantime, we are looking at your live images, but there's no actual recording. So when we take a look at the TransStar cameras and we are doing traffic reports, we don't know whether any of this would have been caught on those TransStar cameras, or if any cameras may have picked this up to maybe pull a license plate off that vehicle.
Well, that's true, Alona, and you know, we just don't know at this point. I know that HPD does a great job in researching all of that when it comes to cameras around here, and I'm not even sure if the TransStar folks actually record these live images. They may. That is yet to be seen. We're just going to have to wait and see. Again, this is going to be a long investigation out here on I-10, the Baytown East Freeway, heading eastbound out to Baytown between Holland and Mercury.
Absolutely, and certainly, as you point out, this is not something that we want to speculate on. They have a lot of investigative work to do, and they will be releasing what they know. We also have reporters headed out there to the scene, so hopefully we'll start to get some more answers from the ground level. In the meantime, Don, let's try to help all of our commuters to get through this area. If you happen to know someone who would take that East Freeway to get out to the Baytown area to head east, what would you tell them at this point?
I would say take 90 out to Crosby. That is the old Beaumont Highway. You can access that off of the 610 East Loop out there and get around this shutdown of the freeway heading eastbound this evening. If you're south of this area, obviously I-45 would be the way to go, or even 225. Anything to get around this heading outbound, heading eastbound out of town this evening.
Yeah, and it's alarming when we take a look at that headline on the screen: an active search for a shooter. Someone has shot and killed 2 people on the East Freeway, right on the east side of town. It's incredibly alarming news, and certainly not a headline that we are used to seeing. As we take a look at the investigation, you're talking about the fact that all lanes are closed. It looks like one lane is getting by, but that in fact is just authorities trying to funnel everyone off of the freeway and get them out of that area. This is actually causing major delays inbound as well, isn't it?
That's right. That's exactly right. Heading westbound, needless to say, there are a couple of left lanes blocked, and traffic is very slow because of rubbernecking delays. And so the east side of town is not the place to be this evening. It is a horrific thought to think that somebody may have had a road rage incident out here on the east side and 2 people are dead. We don't know that. We don't want to speculate about it, but all fingers point in that direction, at least for now, until we get a reporter out here to talk to the HPD that is on the scene investigating this and we learn more information, Alona.
Okay, certainly a good point. No matter what, though, 2 people shot and killed on the freeway is very alarming. Are you seeing the HPD or other helicopters over the area where you are there? I'm wondering if there's any kind of a search for somebody who might still be anywhere near that scene.
Don't know that, Alona. We do not see HPD up here with us at this time. There is, I'm sure, a search going on the ground. You can imagine all they have is a description of a car, I am sure, and they're looking for someone probably around this area or headed eastbound over to the Baytown area and possibly out of state. There's just no way of knowing at this point, which makes it even more frightening because who's to say that this person might be in somebody's neighborhood?
Absolutely. I mean, certainly it's a fast spot to get away from when you are already on the freeway in moving traffic. Just a very alarming situation here. And Don, are you able to zoom in, or are the bodies still there on the freeway?
Yes, the bodies are here on the freeway, and it's just a gruesome sight. Don't want to get too close. But I did want to point out, Alona, that the car was heading in the opposite direction. And again, I don't like to speculate, but the only thing that I can think of is that the person that driving that car was trying to get away from the shooter.
Yeah, it's really a disturbing thought to think about, but definitely not something that we normally see when, as you pointed out, the vehicle appeared to be heading in the opposite direction and could have been trying to get away from someone. You know, whether this was road rage or this was a targeted shooting, or a random shooting, there's no good alternative here, and there's no news that's going to make anyone feel better when we're talking about 2 people shot and killed on the freeway as they were headed eastbound on the East Freeway. This is just highly unusual and in a very disturbing situation for folks really all around our city, because right now whoever the shooter was is still on the loose.
And Alona, the other thing too is that the car being turned around going the opposite direction, down toward town as opposed to eastbound, and the lanes that it is in and let me put it this way, it's very hard to get off the freeway there because that is a ramp that leads to an overpass down here. That's Holland. And so there's really nowhere to go to get away from somebody. If that was the case, that it was an active shooter that targeted these 2 in this car.
Okay, Don, we're going to have you stand by over the scene so that we can continue to see your live pictures while we catch viewers up on exactly what's going on. As far as we know, we are certainly looking for more answers. Right now, we are covering this breaking news of 2 people shot and killed on the East Freeway, and Eric Barajas joining me as we continue to cover this, because this is really huge news, not just for folks in that exact area there on the East Freeway, but this is alarming for everyone around the city to hear.
Yeah, it really is, especially that this happened in broad daylight on a freeway. If you're just joining us, let me get you caught up on exactly what happened here. This is coming from HPD right now. We're told they're on the scene of a fatal shooting that occurred at 5:55 this afternoon on the East Freeway near Federal Road, is what HPD is now saying, where 2 people have been shot and are deceased. And as we've heard from Don Armstrong and Sky I already, those 2 bodies, unfortunately, are still there on the East Freeway, in the middle of the freeway. They've been covered by a blanket and medics are on scene, but we know 2 people are deceased. And the freeway, as you can imagine, is going to be closed for some time now as they can complete their investigation. And again, we also heard from Don that once a shooting happened, we're not sure what sparked it. You can make some assumptions here. We don't know exactly what sparked it, but it was rush hour. The freeway was packed. The person who fired those shots got back into a car. That car sped off on the freeway, going the wrong way on the freeway. And at this point, we know that those two shooters are still on the loose right now.
That's right. And let me I'm just letting Don Armstrong know, because we do have your speaker up here, Don, that yes, we are still streaming. And Eric and I are here now covering this with you. And I'm just going to keep your microphone open so that you are able to continue to hear us as we stream, because I know that it's important we keep your live pictures going. But Eric making the point that, whether this was, a road rage incident or this was targeted or completely random, very alarming news for folks on the East Freeway. And, you can imagine that this is going to take a very long time for this investigation to play out.
Well, Alona, that's exactly right, and this is going to be a long investigation here on the freeway itself. It's going to be shut down well into the evening, would be my guess. And incidents like this, they try to cross all the T's and dot all the I's to make sure that they have all of the information that they possibly can in any kind of a murder, but especially here on the freeway where all the parts are moving on the freeway. You can see the number of police vehicles that are here blocking the freeway. It looks like homicide is already here. We're still going to be waiting for a while for the medical examiner to show up on the scene, but again, this car bumped into a bobtail truck that was carrying, looks like a welding assembly on the back of it there. Just an innocent person driving down the freeway eastbound here between Mercury and Holland, and then ran across this frightening incident here on the East Freeway. But again, it's frightening to imagine, and frightening to imagine in our own city that something like this could happen.
Yeah, so I know, as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, we don't want to zoom in too much because the bodies are still there on the freeway, but from our vantage point, without getting too close, is it a white sedan that is now pointed in the wrong direction, and also a white truck that we're seeing in the middle of the screen?
Alona, it's a white bobtail truck. It's a Ford. It's an older model Ford. The sedan is a late model, what appears to be a silver Nissan Maxima. It looks almost like a brand new car. And it bumped into that truck as it was obviously trying to get away from something, or somehow got spun around. There does not appear to be any dents in the fenders that would indicate that it was bumped by somebody else, but obviously we don't know all of those details yet. Again, it's just speculation, and hate to do that, but just to give you an idea of what we are seeing out here on the Baytown East Freeway.
Okay, and I'm also just seeing in an email that HPD is letting us know a public information officer is headed out there to the scene so that they can provide us with some more information. But Don, you looking at the traffic from up above can tell us just how long it would take even for authorities to try to make their way there, trying to get through this backup of traffic.
Well, you know, this is rush hour, Alona, so that obviously is shown here by the amount of traffic that's on the I-10 Baytown East Freeway. And this is the 610 East Loop. As you can see, cars that don't know that this is happening, trying to exit off of the East Loop, coming down from the north side or coming up from the Ship Channel area, heading the other direction. I'll turn the camera around here in a minute. Coming in from the east side of town, heading toward the downtown area, there's a tremendous backup as well. So rush hour doesn't go away because of a murder scene out here on the freeway itself. But the advice to anybody that you know that is over here on the east side of town, by all means give them a ring on the phone and tell them to avoid I-10 the Baytown East Freeway. Again, the alternate routes are going to be Highway 90, and that would be the Crosby Freeway, the old Beaumont Highway, or Highway 225, or even the Gulf Freeway over to the Beltway this afternoon.
Okay. All right, Don, thank you for the update from there. We're going to keep you over the scene as we continue to follow this. Don letting us know that it does look like one lane is getting by eastbound. However, what you're really seeing, and I don't know if some of that traffic just opened up a little bit, but they were just trying to exit vehicles off the freeway. So even though it had looked like there was one lane open, they were actually just trying to get everybody off. Yeah,
if you look ahead of the crime scene there to the top of your screen, you can see there are no vehicles going by. Everyone's having to exit. Some people might be caught so far back, because if you're familiar with this area, this is just past the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, going outbound just underneath the 610 loop, and it's right there near that Mercury Federal exit area. For high schools off to the left, if you exit left on Mercury there's a stretch of restaurants along this area as well, and then up farther ahead is the East Beltway here. So this is a huge area for commuters to make their way to and from. So anybody, especially at rush hour, would be going outbound if they were working in town, which a lot of people do, is going to be caught in this. And at some instances when we see Don pan around here, you can tell that some vehicles are not moving at all as we come back into the crime scene here. So at this point we know they're trying to get a public information officer out there, but we do know 2 people are deceased on the freeway. Again, a shooting here in broad daylight. And again, you can see the backups this is causing here. It just goes back into town. There's Highway 90 first right there. There's the 610 interchange right there as I-10 continues to the top right corner of your screen. There's the Anheuser-Busch Brewery there at the top left. So this is definitely east side of town, and this gives you a little more of an idea of where this is happening here and where the shooting took place, as well as where all this traffic is now piling up, with the eastbound lanes of the East I-10 freeway completely shut down at this hour.
Yeah, and Don, we are seeing the spot where everybody's being squeezed off, and of course what you don't want to do is end up there. Those people are almost stuck at this point. And Don, are you still able to hear us? It looks like we are looking at
Yes,
really this.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes,
no worries. This is kind of the spot where everybody is stuck. I mean, what you really don't want to do is get on the East Freeway not realizing this is happening, because the people that are trying to exit here, we can see from your shot, they are not moving at all.
No, they are not, because that leads up to the Holland intersection with a traffic light. So everybody that you see there on the feeder is going to have to go through that traffic light right there in the middle of your screen. So it's going to take quite some time for that to happen with all that traffic that heads all the way back there to the 610 East Loop. Heading westbound, coming into town from the Baytown area, there's a backup of probably 3 or 4 miles. It is moving. I would estimate that there's probably a 10 to 15 minute delay because of rubbernecking down here at this site between Holland and Mercury.
Yeah, and we can see that back up. I mean, it's just horrendous. Again, 2 people shot, and right now there is an active search for that shooter. The vehicle involved still right there on the freeway. We are not zooming in because the 2 people killed, the bodies are also still right there on the freeway. And I have to say, of all the road rage shootings that we've been covering over the past, really quite a few of them in the past few months, it's just very unusual that we hear about something happening on the freeway during rush hour, someone getting out of a vehicle, actually in moving lanes of traffic. It's just very disturbing to hear these details.
It is, Alona. As a matter of fact, you can also see that the HOV lane here is shut down as well. Traffic is a mess over here on the east side. It also affects the East Loop and all of the traffic that is trying to get on or off the freeway on all of these surrounding streets over here between Holland and Mercury in particular. Again, the alternate route is 90, the Crosby Freeway, the Old Beaumont Highway off of the 610 East Loop. Also, you can use 225 to get to the east side and take the Beltway there.
Okay, and for those of everybody that's out there streaming this right now, watching this on abc13.com, you mentioned this just a few minutes ago. This happened right before 6 o'clock this evening, so that's a very busy time.
Yeah, and as we kind of look at this shot here from Sky Eye, it's also important to note, you can see the slug here on your screen, there is an active shooter on the loose. So if you're in this area, unfortunately, at this point, police don't even have, at least they have not released to the media, a description of the possible vehicle that the 2 shooters or 1 shooter is riding in. As we switch over now to one of our TransStar cameras to give you a better shot of just exactly what's going on here. So if you're in this area of I-10, the East Freeway, near Federal, Mercury, that area, the shooter fled this scene after shooting 2 people to death on the freeway here. So unfortunately, there is not a vehicle description yet, but you might want to keep that in mind if you have loved ones in this area, to let them know that, that this could be a time to just be a little extra cautious. Unfortunately, that we don't know what this vehicle might look like. You just want to might be looking for anything out of the ordinary at this point.
Yeah, and David, our producer, actually just punched this up for us. Executive producer David Rodriguez pulling up this TransStar camera, and we don't know, David, whether they record what's happening on TransStar, do we?
My understanding is that they do not record. And that's because of, imagine how many accidents you have in a day and how many lawyers would want to get this footage of different accidents. And I think it's just, from my understanding in the past, I don't believe they have records constantly recording.
Yeah, well,
you know,
and speaking to that point, at this day and age, we know everyone in that commute right here when this happened had a camera phone on them. So hopefully you think it's a matter of time before someone recorded some sort of video of this vehicle leaving the scene and is able to get that over to officers so they could kind of issue that that BOLO, if you will. That TransStar camera gave you kind of a shot of just what's going on here at the scene with that car in the opposite direction.
And I want to just mention, of course, our assignment desk is working this story very closely right now, trying to get some new information. But David, we haven't gotten any new information about a possible license plate of a suspect or anything. Police not really telling us anything right now, right?
There has not been any solid description of a suspect. All I know is that they have confirmed that they do not have a shooter there among the two who are deceased at the scene, and I have no description.
And they're not really giving us a lot yet. Again, that public information officer headed to the scene, and no doubt as soon as they get more information, they're going to be releasing it to us. But, they're still trying to put all these pieces together, too.
They sure are, and it looks like they're going to be there for a while, especially as you look how they've got the entire freeway shut down at this point. So anybody needing to get past out the Beltway is going to have to find a complete alternate route at this point, as Don's pointed out a few times. But it's just an unfortunate sight. I mean, we see so many horrible things happen on Houston freeways, and bizarre things at that. And, unfortunately now it's even come to this, where we've got some sort of shooting. We don't know exactly what sparked it. You can make the assumption it was road rage, but we really don't know at this point until police can confirm exactly the kind of details they're getting from the scene. But it's just really tragic that this has to happen on a Houston freeway here with 2 people dead. It's just before 6 p.m. on a Thursday evening as people are trying to make their way home.
Yeah, and Don and I were talking about this just a little while ago. The fact that, there's no telling where the shooter is. The shooter could be right there in the neighborhood. The shooter could be headed for the Louisiana border. And Don, there's just no way for us to know that at this point.
No, there's not, Alona, and we many times just think, well, HPD is just kind of out here at the scene and not doing anything, and that is absolutely not the case at all. They are working very diligently behind the scenes that we can't see, trying to get a handle on who this was that committed this unconscionable act out here on I-10, the Baytown East Freeway. I just can't even imagine somebody getting so mad in traffic to do something to take 2 people's lives. If that was the case, we don't know, we're speculating, but all fingers point in that direction, and it's just pretty bad. I can't even begin to express my feelings for it, because it's something that you just don't ever want to hear, especially having in our city.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Don Armstrong's been up in Sky Eye covering all of this for us. Don, we certainly appreciate it. We're going to stay here on digital and continue to update everyone as soon as we get new information. We have reporters headed there to the scene trying to get some more answers from the ground.
Yes, we'll be updating you here at ABC 13 as soon as we get information. As again, we told you, we do have a public information officer getting to the scene to get some information to the media, so we'll have an update here at abc13.com, and also on Eyewitness News at 10 tonight on ABC 13. We'll have a live report as well for you to get the latest information.
Yeah,
So
this is
do
what
I
I'm
need
seeing
to, so I don't need to do this?
Go ahead. You're starting. No, you don't.
All right, if you're joining us now on abc13.com, we want to get you caught up on the major story of the evening right now. There has been a shooting on the East Freeway here. You're seeing a live picture from Sky Eye right now. That silver sedan facing the opposite direction on I-10, the eastbound lanes near Federal Road and the Mercury area. We're understanding 2 people were shot dead in that vehicle just before 6 p.m. at 5:55 p.m.
Important to note that the shooter has not been found. There were reports that that shooter got out of a vehicle, shot these people on the East Freeway, and then fled the scene. So again, there is actually a search underway right now for that shooter, and our crews have just gotten there to the scene trying to get some more information. Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willey is there on the ground with the very latest. Jessica.
Here on the scene, eastbound I-10 is completely shut down where we are, as you can tell. Lieutenant Larry Towson is walking up, hopefully to give us some new information. We are working to gather more information. Meantime, I'm going to pivot back here. Let's show you the freeway. This is what it looks like when it's completely shut down this side, and you can see all of that traffic heading eastbound. Trying to get through this. This happened just before 6 o'clock, so in the height of rush hour. Westbound is flowing well, but right now eastbound completely shut down, and that line of traffic trying to get past the scene. Let me listen in over here.
There's no audio.
Do you have any updates? Okay. Giving us a quick update over there, but it's pretty much the information we already know. 2 people dead here at the scene. Homicide detectives here. Let's look back this way again. Lots of folks here conducting this homicide investigation on the freeway, which in and of itself is, of course, unique. And I think, Eric, Alona, you guys said it as well. No suspect being custody. Apparently, that person, whoever shot, got back in his car and took off. The silver car that had the victims inside of it crashed into a truck. We assume they're talking to police. This is all still very fresh and new. When we get more information, we will get it to you now.
All right, Jessica Willey giving us an update there. And if you were not able to hear some of that information that she was passing along to us from the East Freeway, again, all eastbound lanes are closed. Homicide investigators are there on the scene. That is the picture that you're seeing right there. Reports that someone got out of a vehicle with a large gun, and some described it as an Uzi style gun.
Yes, Jessica Willey giving you the live report there from the scene. Again, and to reiterate what Ilona was just saying, yes, we were getting reports there that this person got out with a machine Uzi type weapon, if you will. That's just what the description we're getting at this point, and fired on the sedan. It's in the middle of the East Freeway here. Both doors are still popped open. It's just to the top left of your screen as we zoom in and get a better shot here and color coordinate our camera. But unfortunately, the 2 passengers in that vehicle, at least the 2 we know of, are dead at this point. The ME, we believe, has just arrived along with crime scene investigators. Here's another vantage point of the sedan we're talking about, this time from Sky Eye. And at this point, there's still a lot of questions here. We don't know what sparked this. We are getting some unconfirmed reports. We're waiting for police to verify exactly what could have been the motive in this broad daylight shooting here on the East Freeway.
Yeah, the public information officer is arriving there at that scene. As you can imagine, the investigators are certainly taking precedence in terms of trying to collect information from the site. Also, the traffic trying to get out there has just been terrible because of the fact that the East Freeway is closed down eastbound. You can still see emergency vehicles are still arriving. They're still moving around. They're still making sure everything is blocked off. We're watching some of those vehicles pull up right now. And so it's just been a very slow process to try to get information. This happened right before 6 o'clock, so we're coming up on 2 hours ago that this actually happened. And as soon as we get that new information from the public information officer, we're going to pass it along. But as you said, not a lot of information about how exactly this happened, whether or not this was a targeted shooting that happened there on the freeway.
Another good and important piece of information here. Again, if you're in the area of I-10 and Federal or Mercury, just outside the 610 loop there on the East Freeway, these shooters did flee the scene, or shooter at least that we know. So if you're in this area of the east side of Houston, at this point police have not released a description or license plate, so these shooter or shooters did leave the scene of the crime here and are in this area or somewhere beyond. At this point, we really don't know.
There's no doubt at this point that some of you have been stuck in traffic out there for going on 2 hours now because of the huge backups because of this. Don Armstrong was over the scene for a couple of hours for us, letting us know that really your best alternate route was to go to 90, take 90 to Crosby. And try to get around it. But what we've been watching is that because of that closure, all your alternate routes and all of those surface streets are just crawling along. This is video from just a little earlier today, and the only reason that you're seeing one lane getting by right there on the right-hand side of the investigation scene is because they were funneling all of that off the freeway. Once they got everyone off the freeway, there are no cars getting by. There are no lanes getting by. The East Freeway right now is still closed, and it could be closed for hours to come as they continue this investigation. So again, you're taking a look at the live image there, and inbound on the westbound side, because of everybody rubbernecking, we have seen huge delays coming inbound as well. At this point, you've probably gotten the word that this is a major problem. Not a lot you can do to get around it if you're headed inbound, but if you need to head out to the east side, you will certainly need to find a different way to get out there this evening.
All right, so we're going to keep following this story. We've got Jessica Willie there on scene right now, gathering information, speaking to officers. She's going to have a live report at 10 o'clock on ABC 13, and we will continue to update here on ABC13.com.
Jessica's odd.
It's
Yeah.
getaway.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I agree, because it's still showing.
You ready, Jody?
I'm ready.
Everybody ready? Okay, good evening. My name is Bobby Dobbins. I'm the Assistant Chief over Criminal Investigations. To my right is Assistant Chief Larry Satterwhite over Homeland Security. And to my left is Lieutenant Commander Larry Crossan. So we're out here today on a really unfortunate incident. Let me start at the beginning of when it occurred. About 17:57, which was 5:57 this evening, we got a call. The call originally came out as a traffic accident, a major accident in the middle of the freeway. HFD got the same call. I don't know what their descriptors were, but HFD ran on this call as well. They arrived at the scene first, but we arrived at 6:02. So we arrived in it's 5, 6, 7 minutes. So the response was really good on both agencies. When they got here, we found that it's actually a shooting scene that occurred in the middle of the freeway. So what we know so far about the shooting is this. There were two vehicles coming down eastbound on the freeway. One of the vehicles struck the other vehicle and spun it out, similar to like a pit maneuver we use. When that vehicle spun out, there were two occupants in the other vehicle. They got out of the car. At least one of the occupants had a weapon. He began firing at the vehicle that he had just struck. That vehicle came to rest in the middle of the freeway. He actually pursued the vehicle as the vehicle rode down the hill, firing rounds at the vehicle as it rolled. At one point, the vehicle came to a stop. He got in front of the vehicle and fired rounds into the front windshield of the vehicle. There are two occupants in the vehicle. Both occupants are deceased. I'm not going to give any names of anybody tonight, but it's unfortunate what took place, but there were narcotics in the car. We don't know exactly what the nexus was behind this. Road rage, an accident, narcotics, we just don't know yet, so I won't speculate, but I will say there were narcotics found in this vehicle. The shooter, after firing rounds into the front of the vehicle, obviously at 6 o'clock in the evening, there were a lot of witnesses. We have some that stayed at the scene. One of the witnesses that saw the shooting taking place witnessed the shooter shooting into the vehicle. He had his pistol with him, the witness did, in his vehicle for his personal safety. He saw the suspect turn towards him. He thought he was going to be fired at, had no idea what was going on. So he fired several rounds at the suspect. He doesn't know if he hit the suspect, but it did cause the suspect to run back up the hill and get in the vehicle and leave the scene. So at that time, there were several witnesses that got out of their vehicles. A couple of witnesses have EMS training, and they were good enough to stop. They started rendering aid on both the driver and the passenger. They provided CPR to both of our victims until HFD arrived at the scene, and then HFD took over. Unfortunately, both of the victims passed away here at the scene and never regained consciousness. But we want to thank those two Good Samaritans for stopping and trying to save lives. They were trying to hold them on until HFD got here. It just didn't happen. We have a couple of witnesses that stayed, but we know several witnesses drove around this accident. And it's 6 o'clock. So anybody that saw this accident that we know now is a shooting, please let us know. Call HPD and please let us know what you saw. The slightest thing could help us. Even if you were in front of it and maybe saw something in your rearview mirror, doesn't matter. We'll take any leads we can. We do have some witnesses here, but we'll take any information we can ascertain.
What kind of description do you have on the suspect?
So we don't have a good description on the suspect yet. We believe there are two. We don't believe there were two shooters, just one, but we're not positive. The only description we have is a Hispanic male, and we don't even have an age. So I really can't narrow it down, and I don't want to do that until we know for sure. Both occupants of the vehicle were black males. Don't know their ages, and we're not looking yet, but they appear to be middle-aged black males.
Does it sound like they knew each other? I mean, it almost sounds like this was, I know you, I'm getting you kind of thing. Oh,
Well,
yes.
I'll answer it this way. As crazy as things are right now in our society, was this a road rage incident and these guys just happened to have narcotics in the car? Was it an accident that occurred and one driver got mad? And because we just don't know anymore, right? Or it could be a narcotics drug case, drug rip we call them, and we just don't know. So we're not gonna try to speculate. Homicide's out here, narcotics is out here. Obviously, we have a lot of officers blocking the scene for traffic, and we're going to be out here for a little while longer. So, unfortunately, the traffic's going to be bad for the next hour or so, or probably a couple hours. But
What's the suspect vehicle description?
so we don't have a good description of the vehicle. We believe it was a sedan, but we can't even tell you what model yet. I think what really happened is a lot of people, and I'm just speculating, but I think a lot of people thought this was just an accident. So like we see them all the time on the freeway, they just drove by it, right, going home, and didn't realize the shooting was happening until after the person got out of the car. And that happened so fast, those that left probably never even saw it. But we thank those that stayed and did witness.
And it did start out that way. It started out with him ramming the other car, right?
From what the witnesses say, one vehicle rammed the other. It spun that vehicle out. That vehicle came to rest uphill and was rolling downhill. When the striking vehicle, the two occupants got out of it. One of them had a gun and began firing rounds at that car as it rolled downhill. When it came to a stop, he made it all the way to the car and continued firing rounds into the front
So
windshield.
the striking vehicle, they hit the car, then that's the vehicle the shooter was in that proceeds to fire on the shots.
That is correct. That's what we understand at this point.
Sure.
How scary of a situation this is to have a rush hour incident?
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, we all drive these freeways going home, you know, all of us. And road rage is bad enough, right? A major accident makes you mad on the way home, right? Well, seeing something like this to a normal citizen is just, I mean, our witnesses are disturbed. I mean, this is a disturbing scene, right? We see it every day, and it still disturbs us to see this. So, no, it's a major incident. It shouldn't happen. We don't want this to happen in our city. We don't know the reason, but we're going to find out the reason, and we'll end up giving more details later, but we just don't want to speculate. But no, this is a scary event to happen at 6 o'clock at night in a busy freeway.
Right? I mean, it's something you don't see very much.
No, we don't.
Just to clarify again, Chief, so the shooter was in the vehicle that was struck?
No, the shooter's vehicle struck the vehicle that we have sitting up here with the two occupants deceased. The striking vehicle exited his vehicle. At least one, we believe two individuals exited the vehicle. And they're the ones, at least one, fired rounds at this vehicle that he had already struck and then continued firing all the way up until he got to the car window.
Do you know, was the driver the gunman? Was the driver the person that had the gun?
We just don't know that yet. But we got a lot of investigating. We've got witnesses that stayed, which we're really thankful for. The people that took time to stay and tell us what they know. We still even haven't interviewed all of those. So we believe we're going to get some good information. But I do want to stress anybody that drove by this and thought, well, it's just a wreck, you know, maybe they can identify the car, the other vehicle in the wreck, right? Anything they know is going to help us. So we want everybody to come forward.
Chief, tell us about the gun that was used. Your scanner traffic and witnesses describing it as a large gun, a long gun.
Right, so I don't know, and once again, that's part of the investigation when we look at the casings. We do have witnesses that say it was a long rifle that he was firing, and what I mean by a long rifle, it was a gun similar to an AR-15. One of the witnesses saw the weapon. He said he's familiar with firearms, and he believes it was a AR-15.
Do you remember anything like this in recent memory?
Road rage, unfortunately, we see that all the time, but no, nothing to this level. No, not in the middle of the freeway at 6 o'clock in broad daylight. No, sir.
How many rounds do you estimate were fired?
I'm not going to speculate on that, and I just would say multiple.
Where exactly did the victim's vehicle go down the hill? Which hill are you?
I don't know. Are y'all not getting a look at it? Right on the other side of our vehicle, where those people are standing. I'm sorry y'all didn't get a good look, but if you can get over there and get a sweep of it, that silver car is the victim's car.
Chief, what's the message to the suspects out there tonight?
Well, the message is we've got witnesses, we have leads. We absolutely believe that a lot more witnesses are going to come forward because we really believe more people saw this. It was done in broad daylight. We have a great investigative team at HPD, and our goal is to catch these guys, and we fully intend on doing that.
Just one last question. I don't know if you already say. What kind of car is the victim's? Did it over there, the gray one? What kind of car?
I did not. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even look at the model. It's a four-door sedan and it's silver.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
And listen, we'll update y'all when we know more things. But once again, please put it out that we need any witnesses to come forward. Thank y'all.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We were stuck in traffic.
Okay, no problem.
Do you mind if we go quick?
Yeah. Do you just on this mic? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Chief, can you give your name and just for the camera real quick, how you want it spelled?
Okay, so my name is Bobby Dobbins, Dobbins, and I'm the Assistant Chief of Criminal Investigations.